All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
Wow, I didn't know if someone could possibly have a bounce in their voice.
I have a bounce in my voice. I have a bounce in my voice. The Battle of Ontario's back. It's a beautiful thing.
And
he was in the building.
The New York Rangers streak ended. The Cubs streak ended. And I think you kind of kept it kind of low. Your streak of being in the building with an L ended. You were there. Were you there working, or were you just there?
I was there working, so I have quite the backstory on my whole scene last night. All right? Yeah. So my daughter had a hockey tournament all weekend. We are commuting. I must have driven from here to Winnipeg and back over the course of 4 days, right?
Dude, it's no joke, man.
It's nonstop. And then you get into are we going to make the semis? We made the semis. Okay, and if you win the semis, you're going to get into the finals. But the finals is in the afternoon. So I was doing SportsCenter. I was going to do Jay last night. And naturally, people are preparing. And they're like, are you going to be in the building? And I said, I got to wait to see if the Whitby Wolves win their semifinal
One time
game.
you started the game, the Whitby Wolves, you were like, you guys better lose this game.
Well, that's the thing. If they went to the final, I would have been at home because I'd have to commute the whole family home. By the time I would have walked in the door at 6:45, I'm like, I'm not getting down to the game. So they end up losing in the semifinals. Great battle, awesome. And then I check in. I'm like, I'm going down to the Leaf game. All right, so I send messages. I'll be down there. I get it, and I was going to be in the presser, right? Of course. I'm going to be up in the press box and after the game doing hits and all that. My brother-in-law sends me a text, 5 o'clock. Hey, our buddy who he was going to the game with pulls the chute last minute. He's got tickets, seats. He goes, I know you're going to be down there. Do you want to sit in the seats? I need someone to go with me.
Dude,
was that
a petting zoo?
It was. Here's the thing.
We've been doing the show for a long time. Mode, like
We've been doing the show for so long and calling out suits and the lower bowl, and I had to wear a suit to the game.
Yeah, you're working.
I'm working after the game, and I sent that message to him. I said, just so you know, I know your routine. You're going to be into beers, wearing Matthews jerseys, and you're going to be waving the I'm not doing that. I'm going to have a suit on, drinking water. I have to work after the game. But I'd like to be in the seats because I'd like to pick up on the atmosphere, and it's a completely different vibe. When you're up in the press box, you guys know this, you're completely disconnected from everything. You're watching the game, but you're disconnected from everything.
From the nonsense.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what, I want to be there. I want to see Battle of Ontario in the seats, and I'm the only one in a suit. And credit to those fans last night. It was an unbelievable atmosphere down there. The crowd was crazy. It was a great night. And I'm in a suit.
But did you do
watching the game?
There's a small detail I want to know if you pulled it out. Did you pull out the Bobby Mack notepad with the pen and put it on your knee?
Yeah, okay. That's a hero move.
Dude, I did not, but I am going to run something past you guys. You tell me what you think in retrospect, because I think I have a new lifestyle. I think I'm into a different.
I know what he did. I know what you did.
Take it. Go ahead. You guess.
Send voice notes to himself.
You made notes on your phone.
Well, I most certainly did that. But because I needed my tie, I wasn't going to wear my tie. I needed my IFB. I needed a phone charger, fanny pack.
I was just going to say, were you wearing some sort of fanny pack or money belt? Or
I was wearing a fanny pack.
A fanny pack
into a suit?
I had a fanny pack and a suit on walking around that place. And
Dude, if that's not Versace or a Louis Vuitton or some
it
kind
was a
of
Nike one that he was given 20 years ago.
Dude, if you walk in with a gorgeous suit and an old slow-pitch Molson Canadian fanny pack, you're a trasher.
Yes. I was, and I gotta credit my wife, because usually, again, when you're in the presser, you bring a bag. I bring everything. I bring a laptop to the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need my stuff. I have to be prepared. And I'm like,
dude,
I'm going fanny pack.
You guys know I go briefcase. This briefcase is the only thing to look professional. You cannot wear a fanny pack, man. I am disgusted.
No,
right now.
I love it. I love it. But I guarantee you found a way to have it on the side where your jacket would cover or something. Like you look like you look like you were carrying something else.
day noodles.
Yeah.
It's like the football, the hand warmers where they put it behind them when they're about to snap the ball.
That's
that
what
was
you
me.
had.
It was tucked behind the suit.
Love it.
And I had to have it. I had to be prepared. But
Yeah. Good on you.
Yeah, it was great, and it was I did SC and J after, and there was a buzz in the place. I will say this because there's always a referendum on the fans, and I remember Game 1 last year. There was a big conversation about was it loud enough? Were people engaged? What happened? And they lost Game 1 to Boston last year, which certainly didn't help. But I thought the buzz in the building, the confidence, and I don't know if it was a combination, I'm sure it was, of it being a long weekend, it being a Sunday. I was the only guy in a suit. No one else had any reason to be. You weren't coming from Bay Street into the building for whatever reason. But I also think the Battle of Ontario, I thought the Leafs did a great job last night. Like they brought Tucks back out. Darcy came out. Dougie was there. Rick Five was there. Like a lot of big, heavy hitters were there and in the building. They did a really good job with game ops. And it was a fun game, a fun night. Like, not if you're a Sens fan necessarily.
But they played great.
It was a great, great night. You could not have scripted it better for a Game 1 for the Leafs.
But the crowd itself, I was in shock. You were in the building. I couldn't tell what it was. But just the fact that, and I don't know if they watched the commercial with Grandpa Tuck screwing the screws off the seat, and he looks in the camera and he goes, I don't know if Grandpa Tuck's had the most influence on everybody going crazy. But just to see them standing up, I was like, it took 100 years for you guys to get it? It was just great. And we talked about it on SC last night. I just love the Maple Leafs approach where in years past there was almost this anxiety and you could sense it amongst the players and that would almost filter through to the fans. Where last night from the drop of the puck it was like, let's just let this thing rip. Like, let's hit and let's be excited and let's be on our toes and let's go downhill and let's play with some excitement and some jam as opposed to looking like, oh, God, what if something bad happen? What happens if we lose this game? What happens if we lose this series? I just thought there was some excitement to it. There was some pace, some physicality. There was a mandate in the first period. If the Ottawa Senator player touches the puck, they're going to be finished. And it was just a great – and – you play like that to start, and the game can ultimately soften up and some opportunities can open up for you, and they did. And they made the other team pay the price. I thought it was a great start. But, man, oh, man, there's like – people have gone crazy after one game. Like, we do a segment called It's Only One Game But. People around the world, like, their team loses. Like, everyone in New Jersey, although they might be a bunch of phonies in Jersey, they're going nuts. They're like, we suck, and how did we even make It's one game.
No, but
take a lesson from Pete DeBoer. You see Pete DeBoer sitting at his presser, he was like this. He's like, I know we weren't that good. That guy wins a lot of playoff games. He's not freaking out.
No, but you can be happy with, like, I think in the moment, I think you can be elated with the way you played, but you can be, today it's workmanlike, back to, hey, whatever happened yesterday, that's yesterday. We're looking forward. I think you can have the best of both worlds if you're in the bubble as players. Fans, you know what, that's a different story.
Yeah, there's no going back.
There's no going back because this is the Battle of Ontario. There are, on Ottawa's side, they're upset about certain things. And Toronto's side, they're excited about certain things. So be it. That's the fans. The players, that's a different story. If you had a checklist of stuff that you wanted to hit if you were the Leafs yesterday, you hit it all. Like, you hit everything. Mm-hmm. If you're Ottawa, there's a checklist of things that they missed on, and they've got to either adjust or that's it. Like, you're not going to be able to get back into the series. But it is one game, but that's why we talk about it all the time in the NFL. Mondays after that first weekend or whatever, like, I don't think it's overreaction, but it can be excitement. I don't know how you feel about that, Brian.
No, for sure. And I agree. I don't like, it is overreaction in terms of it being a long series. And, if anyone should know that, it's Leaf fans, because they've been in the shoes of Sens fans today so many times in the past, right? Like, prior to last night in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era, the previous 8 years, they were 2-6 in Game 1. And how many times did they push it to 7? So it is one game, but you should be excited. You're allowed to be excited. I think the Leaf fans should be proud of their team. I think Leafs should be proud of the way they played last night. But you're going to have to settle in. And if you're Ottawa, the objective has not changed. Whether it was Game 1 or Game 2, you're hoping for a split. and they're going to have to make some adjustments, and we'll talk a lot about it today and tomorrow leading into the game. But, yeah, I think, for the Leafs, what was different was they've struggled so much in game ones. Like I said, 2-6 prior to last night, and they've struggled at home. And their power play, Jonas tweeted it out last night. They had 1 power play goal in 7 games last year against Boston. They had 3 last night.
Right.
So, like you said, Noodles, I think any box you'd ever want to check for the Leafs was checked last night. But that's 1 game. You got to do it.
Maturity.
But
like
that's
they've
when you
talked in
take
years
it.
past,
Absolutely.
guys, about learning lessons and scar tissue. Be veteran enough and savvy enough to understand that you're going to get a response tomorrow, and forget about the 6-2, because you have to get it in your mind that tomorrow night's winner is going to be a 2-1. Ultimately, it might not be. You might blow them out again. Allmark might not find his game, and it might be just a gong show tomorrow night. But you have to prep yourself for Ottawa's best, because they got pride. They're a quality team, and they work hard, and they got some piss and vinegar to their game, and they're going to show up and play. I think they realized they were all geeked up yesterday, and they tried to out-physical the Leafs or out-hit them, and they got out of control with it, and they got stupid, and they paid the price for it. You're going to get a better game, and it's probably going to be 2-1 or 3-2. So you talk for years. You said you've learned and you're experienced, and you got to move forward and learn. Like tomorrow's
Game 2 will say a lot, man.
yeah,
It'll
because
say
remember a
more
couple
about
years
the
ago
Leafs.
they spanked Tampa 5 or 6-1. They lost the next one 5-0.
Right. Game 2 will say more about the Leafs and the lessons learned than what last night was ever going to tell us.
Of course.
Like last night was, the Leafs were fiery. They got on the board pretty quick. Ottawa, it sputters out of control. The reffing is the reffing, and they're all, discombobulated because of it. Allmark can't stop anything, in terms of like grade A chances that the Leafs generated last night. And it ends up being kind of a runaway. That's what it was last night. But what you do game 2 for both teams, I think, is really going to be the test. If Ottawa shows up and does exactly what you just said, is they battle, they push, they score first, Allmark makes big stops, and they get a win, we got ourselves a series, and it may be a coin flip. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. If the Leafs play the way they did last night or improve on that and win and do so, I think, decisively, I think that'll actually be more telling.
More of a statement.
Yeah, exactly. More of a statement than whatever last night was. Last night that's an appetizer. You get started. Someone's going to win game 1. It was the home team, the more veteran team. The Leafs were peaking coming in as well. That was significant. Like, they played their best hockey the last 15 games.
And props to Craig
of the
Berube,
season.
one little nugget. Like, props for him to being confident. And things may change. There was already some subtle changes in what the lineup. He just had a gut feeling about the lineup to finish the season, because he could have tinkered and said, Pacioretty, you've been out for a long time, but we value your veteran, blah, 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 you're going in. He didn't do that.
Oh, and
he had a gut feeling about that roster, that lineup that he had finished the season, and he played it.
You're right, but he might, like, the one thing I would love to point out, I would like your guys' thought process with it. There's a game plan in place for game 1, okay? It might adjust for game 2.
Absolutely, Jamie.
So this is what I mean by it. And I tell me if I'm wrong in this, but I thought the Leafs, so you talk about checking boxes. You knew that Ottawa was going to try and be extremely aggressive with them. And I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs did a great job of, agitating, drawing penalties, doing things where it was Ottawa's sitting in the box. They take 4 penalties in the offensive zone, and some of them were stupid penalties. And regardless, again, I'm not going to – refs are refs. The refs ref both teams.
I didn't like this one. The Stutz's the one I thought was a weak call.
Well,
that's amateur hour call. That's not an
That's a
NHL
bad
call.
call.
You're right.
Especially after the first period, they put the whistles away, and then that's the one you call.
No,
but
I understand. I thought the weirdest one was Batherson on Ekman-Larsson, because Ekman-Larsson, he goes down, but he was holding his head, and it's like a push from behind. In the end, it doesn't matter. You're taking those penalties, and that's where I want to get back to my point. I thought the Leafs, not antagonize. That's a word. They made the Sens take penalties. They initiated, and there was retaliation. That's thinking the game. Going, hey, we're going to deal with Brady. We're going to deal with all this stuff. All they did was play hard whistle to whistle, and the Sens fell into a little bit of a trap. And I thought that was brilliant from a game plan for the Maple Leafs, where That's a veteran team going, hey, we know what this team's going to be like. They're going to try and run us out of the building physically. Let's do it this way. And what they did is they drew penalties, and then they made them pay on the power play.
Exactly.
And you go 3 for 6 on the power play. Like
you're winning in the playoffs.
That's a dagger right there. The game, because if you go 5-on-5, that's a 3-2 game, right? And that looks different. The power play was the dagger. It was the game within the game. So what I mean by this, and I'm getting long-winded, the adjustments. Now, Ottawa's going to have to adjust to how they play, but now Toronto might adjust to how they're going to attack tomorrow physically.
Right.
So that's a Craig Berube thought process. That's game planning. So Travis Green and his group have to adjust to that.
A lot of performance adjustments,
right?
Jamie,
Exactly.
Because a coach, their fuse and their patience with performance. I think Max Domi got a period and a half last night, and the coach
didn't play in the third.
No.
Much.
Yeah, so the coach made an adjustment, and it doesn't take long for a coach, and I'm sure Travis Green has got the same thing looking at some of the guys that he put out there last night. You get a hate on pretty quick. You're like this didn't just sneak up on you, and you put out a performance like that, you got to make an adjustment quick because you don't have time to wait around for the guy. There's zero time to wait around for anybody to find your game. Hayes, you talked about it at Augusta. You don't go there to find your game. You got to bring it there.
Right.
Guys aren't on board. The coach moves on from them pretty quick. Short term anyway, and just to give it a look.
Absolutely. Now, one outlier on that is the goalie.
Yes.
Travis Green can't do anything for Linus Ullmark. Green's not sitting there with a whiteboard saying,
I said it last night. He's got to get one of those. Maybe it's the Ekman-Larsson one, but the other ones, you're talking about a Mitch Marner breakaway. You're talking about William Nylander 10 feet away with a howitzer. I mean, John Tavares left alone all in front.
No.
Same thing with Matthew
Bad
Lyes.
breakdowns.
I
Bad
agree.
breakdowns,
for
sure.
And
he's got to get one of them.
He's got to get one or two because the guy at the other end did. That's my point.
That's it. I mean, in my opinion, the second there were two moments in the game, like in the being there with the crowd and trying to get a read on what the pendulum swings, the energies in the building. There were two possible tip the scales moments that went the Leafs' way. The first one was the breakaway save on Tkachuk to start the second period.
Yeah, because that would have made it 2-2.
That's 2-2. The next thing, you flinch, and it's 4-1. Right. So Stolarz made 3 stops in the second period that were phenomenal. The Tkachuk, the Pinto one-timer, and the Zetterlund off his stick.
Yeah.
Like, those 3 were huge. Ullmark didn't make one of those stops.
Right.
But I thought the Tkachuk breakaway was so significant that Stolarz stopped that. And then I think after Greig scored, Riley scores 45 seconds later. Greig scores, it's 4-2 with 16 minutes to go. There's a little bit of a dampening in the building.
What's going to happen
here?
yeah.
4-2, 16 minutes. A lot of things can go here. Another, bad break, and it's 4-3. And Riley scores literally 45 seconds later, and it's over. The lights are out.
It's big,
done.
Hayes, because how many times in years past, like we're talking about a lot of kind of heartbreak losses. Like that Tkachuk breakaway, it was in every time, man.
That's everything, though. That's it.
I know. The Greig goal, it was in. They would find a way. That one that hit the knob of the stick would go off and in. It would just be like Samsonov in Boston last year is a great example where it's like, yeah, we can talk about a guy needs to step up, but why do we have garbage goals going in?
Exactly. And conversely, the Leafs weren't scoring on their opportunities.
Right. Yes.
Where I think you can look at that game to break it down. Marner scores on his breakaway. Tkachuk doesn't score on his. And it could be a completely different game because if you look at it, the penalties, once it gets to 5-2, 6-2, everything else is irrelevant. Like, people are like, look at all the penalties. They called 45 penalties at the end of the game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really count. What counts was, the Greig cross-check, the 5-on-3, the Tkachuk one, I think, to start the third, I believe it was. Like, there were a couple of different penalties that clearly benefited the Leafs, and they made them pounce. But I think in terms of the way the game really played out was each team had 5 or 6 grade A chances. And Stolarz stopped the majority of his, and Ullmark didn't stop any of his. Literally none that I can recall. And, yes, they were great opportunities, but that's what the Leafs are looking for. Like, push all the noise out. You give me 5 or 6 chances on your side, 5 or 6 on ours. We will take, as a Maple Leaf, if you're the Leafs, grade A with Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nyes. You pick your 5 on Ottawa. We'll take that all day. We'll take it all day because they're more skilled. They just have more elite, like, lethal, especially playoff talent in terms of the way it played out last night. And
I think to put a bow on it, Hayes, I think they found that for one game, if it's one game, they found some kind of formula about feeling good and feeling confident, and that was kind of like the large sample size of feeling good. I mean, everything clicked their way. The goaltender, the big boys, the power play. But tomorrow night, it might be some type of smaller version of that, where the goaltender still got to be good, but it might be a third or fourth liner that chips in, and then somebody in overtime where it's a 2-1 hockey game. But as far as good players feeling good about themselves, your goaltender getting into it and feeling good, special teams, like there's something there to build off of. But you have to be veteran enough to realize that it won't be like that tomorrow night.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Exactly.
I thought Scotty Lawton on that fourth line with those guys, I thought they were
great
good
last night.
And don't underestimate, he got an assist in Buffalo, and he scored that goal that everyone was probably like, it's an overtime.
Against Detroit, the meaningless goal of the year.
Yeah,
but
you
it
know
had
what?
meaning because it made him feel good.
It probably made Scotty Lawton feel like, you know what, I contributed something. And just a little spark like that, because he got a great assist where he dumped it out to Lorentz in the slot in Buffalo. And just to have those two small contributions can just make a guy. Because no matter what, if you start playing better, and if I always talk about it with leadership. Like if you're playing like garbage, it's tough to be vocal and be that leader type of guy because everyone's like, you're not doing squat right now. How could we even believe anything you're saying? So for him to contribute offensively in those last two games, he probably just felt good about himself.
Yep.
And you're going to need contributions like that from guys. He made a great play on that OEL goal to kickstart the game.
Absolutely. I thought that line was really good. And the bottom six are largely interchangeable.
Yeah.
You know,
Chiefs started them at they first shift after a goal is very important.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was them going out there after
and that's
a goal.
why you got Lawton. It wasn't for the game against Detroit this is why you got him. This is why you paid the price for a veteran guy that's got some playoff experience that you feel can step up come playoff time. And again, it's one game, but I really liked this game last night. And I liked, again, we keep recycling the fact that every box was checked, but I think it's significant to continue to reiterate that considering the history of the club. And I think you look at a lot of the new guys because you can't bury the lead. The core four was great last night. Like they all put up numbers. They all had multiple points. Riley gets on the board. There's your core five longest standing Leafs, highest paid players. They've been here for all the scar tissue. They all contributed 6 different goal scorers. But I think when you consider what was changed last year, they bring in Craig Berube, who I think again kept the eye on the prize coming down the stretch. Go chase the division. Let's play someone different. Play Ottawa, which is very refreshing. You don't have demons. If that's Boston last night, who knows what that room is thinking. If it's Tampa or Florida, it's probably a very different vibe. Where if it's Ottawa, and it could have been Detroit, it could have been the Rangers. As long as it's someone different, I think that's significant for this crop of players. But I thought, Berube, last night, Green starts the Stützle line. He's like, Matthews, get out there. I'm not trying to get guys away from different people. We're starting our best players and our best line. It's our house, and we're playing. And even in the third period, when they were up 5-2, I thought, you got to put a defenseman out there for the power play.
No.
And they didn't.
I thought that, but you know what?
But I like that, Noodles.
But hey, so we were talking about it too. It doesn't matter 5 or 6-2. You're right. It was 5-2 power play. You're trying to get to 6th. You're trying to get to 7th. You're trying to
keep going.
That's what you do in the playoffs. Regular season's different. Hey, let's find an extra shift for a guy who's maybe doesn't get a power play look or whatever. The playoffs are all about you hammer down on that particular night whatever weakness you're finding. So that power play, you get it out there. Well, Nyes ends up getting the goal, but it's. I don't think you switch anything, and that's heading into game 2. Yes, you're going to have a gut on certain things. You might find, we might wake up tomorrow and Pacioretty's playing, and he's decided to put somebody else in. But that's more of how he thinks where the series is going to head. Hey, I need an extra heavier body instead of this. That is instinct as a coach, the game within the game. But last night, Hayes, I didn't think he was going to change it. He didn't.
No.
That's the right mentality.
And I credit him for that. Again, if you have faith in that 5-forward power play when it's tied in the first or in the third, you better keep going.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, Berube came in, he's had a positive impact on kind of settling things down. I liked his post game last night, very composed. Stolarz was an addition last year. He was obviously great last night. Ekman-Larsson was very good last night. I thought he and Benoit played really, really well. I thought Tanev played really well. So core four is at the forefront of this, and they always will be because of who they are and what they've done. But you look at what was added during the offseason. Then you can throw in Lott and you can throw in Carlo. And leading up to the playoffs, it's always the same thing. Every year we all get caught into this trap. Feels different, just looks different. Well, the main guys are still the main guys, and they're going to have to do the heavy lifting, and they're going to have to break a game or a series open multiple times to go on a cup run. But really, if you're looking for something tangible, Berube, Stolarz, Ekman-Larsson, Tanev, like those are big pieces. And Carlo, I would throw in there. That's the five. Like those are five serious players who are going to, and a coach, who are going to have a big impact on how this could feel or look different. And I think that was also significant last night. It wasn't just Matthews and Marner and Nylander dragging them somewhere. It was new additions with championship pedigree that I thought factored in significantly last night.
Highly competitive people who look at the game a different way. And we talk about stars and Mitch Marner's contract. We're going to be talking about his performance, what he brings to the table. Game one of the best players on the ice. Great start for him. Everybody's always saying to me, "Oh, what do you not like Marner?" I love Mitch Marner. I only deal with what's in front of me and what goes on the ice. He was great last night.
Yeah.
Unbelievable start to the playoffs. Keep it going, Mitchie.
And didn't step out of his comfort zone. Wasn't throwing massive hits or hacking guys or getting in scrums.
Difference maker. That's it.
Exactly.
That breakaway goal was a massive point in the game, and he was the guy that did it.
Absolutely.
For years, we've been saying, are one of these guys going to step up with something? And they just, for whatever reason, it never happened. And let's not – I talked about the people freaking out on the negative. Let's not get stupid here on the positive either. It's one game. Let's be real here.
But
as I said, there's a formula for feeling good. It might be a smaller version. Like it's not going to be 6-2 tomorrow. So keep it going.
There'll be adjustments. There always is. I mean, we know it. In Jersey, there's going to be an adjustment with St. Louis, with Dallas.
That Jersey team, my God.
Minnesota.
Well, Jersey had a terrible start, like a terrible game one.
What happened to Jersey? It's like they were bums coming down the stretch, and now they're just going to get smoked.
Well, Dallas is the bigger issue, man. They've lost 8 in a row, and they got smoked the other night.
Yeah, I mean the score
5-1. I know
was a little bit like there was an empty netter, and then a late one too, like moldy one. But it was still Colorado didn't look like they were out of the driver's seat.
The
Carolina one was the most. No, yeah. I wouldn't count them out.
I see Colorado win the first 2 games against Dallas, and Dallas won the series.
Heiskin is not playing game 2. Robertson's out for the series. I hear you.
Yeah, it's 2 massive pieces for Dallas, and they would have taken. It's still going to take their best. I still, it came back to it. Hayes, you talked about it at the start of the show here. Like the goalies have to outduel each other. Mm-hmm. I thought Mackenzie Blackwood was unbelievable. He made 2 massive, 2 for sure goals. One on Marchment, the other one on Johnston. Those were grade A stolen saves. That game might look different. We just talked about Stolarz stopping Brady at 2-1 in the score. Yep. That might look different. The game might have taken a different turn. But you make those saves at the right time. Goaltending is a big factor. I'm doing that Winnipeg game the other night. Everyone was talking, hey, geez, I didn't love Hellebuck's start. Looked a little leaky, a little deep. All of a sudden, Winnipeg wakes up and gives him a win. And now all of a sudden, he can settle in and play.
Yeah, now if you're St. Louis, you're like, we put 3 past this guy and we lost. And I didn't love Bennington's. I thought Bennington was good early. But if you go back to that Iafallo goal, that goes through him. It's a great play. Mark Scheifele was the best player on the ice. He was barring on unbelievable.
That Ottinger, he gets high praise, and there are people that talk about him.
Yeah.
And Noodles, you have your own ranking
down the stretch, man.
Yeah,
he needs to. I can't remember other than he had the series against Calgary where him and Markstrom were going back and forth, and it was just like a goaltending.
Game 7, he made 50 saves or 57 saves. It was finally Johnny Gaudreau. He just
needs to get dialed in and be the guy that they paid him to be, because I don't think that guy's been there for quite some time. So he needs to step it up.
But that's
Ottinger, let's go.
Yeah, it comes back to the storylines around the league. Is after one game, you're going, geez, that team doesn't look good. Let's see if
the response.
If New Jersey has a response. Let's see if St. Louis has something different tonight. You go through it. Florida and Tampa don't play till tomorrow.
I know,
That
it's absurd.
is
It's absurd.
so
Like,
stupid.
Yeah,
you know,
it is
like
a weird
you look at
schedule.
some of these schedulings, you're like, what is going on? Like Winnipeg and St. Louis have played their second game, and that Florida series hasn't started
I
yet.
know, but benefits Florida likely with the injuries and
Yeah.
all that. Give an extra couple of days and I guess a build-up for what should be a great series. But
Yeah.
there's going to be adjustments, and a lot of times you can look at the goalie, and that's the nature of the position, that even if there aren't adjustments, if that one player plays great, then you can steal a game or win a
Exactly.
game, and then you move on in the series. So Mark Mathot coming up in about a half an hour. We got games tonight. Again, we got the Habs starting their series. We got Winnipeg game 2. We got the Oilers starting in LA. So a lot of Canadian content to tee up tonight.
I just want to ask one thing before we end our first break. If you got up in the concourse and Brad Treliving was about to shake a hand and say, "Hayes, good to see you," would you have slid the fanny pack under the suit jacket to hide the fact you had a fanny pack on?
Yeah,
Or would you have had it
Tree
front
would
and
have just
center?
walked the other way. He would have seen a fanny pack and said, "I'm sorry, that's not Bryan Hayes."
I
I'm walking
would have
away.
been. I was mortified walking around. I got to be honest. I am not a fanny pack guy. I have
Dude, I'm
never
disgusted
worn
you
one
even pulled that
in
You
my
were a
life.
fanny pack. What color was it? At least black, like you could
No,
hide
it was
it in
blue
your.
with the suit. That was the beauty of it. It was. I had
You
the
had
blue
a matching
suit.
fanny pack
I
to
had
your suit.
I had the A suit on with the A fanny pack last night, and everything was coordinated. But I was on high alert that thing was tucked away and everything was all good because, I was talking with a lot of people. Now, one guy was yelling at me about being in the building. Like, I hear him in the background. He's like, "You can't be here." I'm like, how many beers has this guy had?
I
And
can't
I love that
believe
that's
you
my rep.
subjected yourself to that.
That's my
Dude,
rep,
this-
that if I'm in the building, if they lose, it's my fault.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's
not
over
the
now.
lose.
It's over
It's
now.
over now.
Broke it.
It's over now. And people are sending in that the
Rock.
Rock picture with the fanny pack. There's me at Scotiabank.
It is.
There's a lot of good content coming in online. We'll retweet a
Look
few.
at
There's me.
Hazy
That was me
B.
going into Scotiabank last night.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a lot to recap. Again, looking back on Game 1. We've got some possible tampering out west.
Oh,
We'll
my
tell you
God.
about that. And the Jays are in Houston tonight as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Some really bonkers stuff going on. Hayes with the fanny pack move.
That's
And that Andy Reid did me dirty today. Real bad.
what did he do?
He endorses a Skechers loafer in a commercial.
Really?
Andy Reid went to the dark side, man.
No.
Yes, he's like, I'm a model on the side when I'm not coaching football, and I got to have comfy slip-on Skechers. And I said, Andy Reid,
Not buying
that's
it.
not for you, man.
Not buying it, man. I just
I'm
there's
watching
certain
it right now. It is.
I got to see Andy
insane.
Reid at
This
Skechers.
commercial is insane.
Maybe it worked then. That's the beauty of advertising. It worked. We're talking about Andy Reid and we're talking
He's
about the
standing
product.
at his desk, though. They're like,
I love that. He's like, I'm too busy to actually go on a photo shoot.
Oh,
And
my
there's
God.
some cool, different-looking, like,
he's got-
Skechers, I suppose. It's just, I don't know. I didn't think you would go down that road, Andy
I didn't
Reid.
see that one coming.
You did
either,
us
man.
dirty.
You've
Well,
got
see
everything
if they
in
got
the
fanny
world, Andy.
packs.
Why
See
do
if they
that
got a
to us?
Skechers fanny pack.
So before we
I
get
might look into that, man. I need
Before
a
we get
variety
into-
of options.
Before we get into the hockey comments around the National Hockey League, I want to ask you this, Hayes. If I was your caddy and I hurt my back at Augusta and Noodles subbed in for Augusta and the next week and you won with Noodles on the bag, just like what Justin Thomas did, would you call me and say you're out for good? I'm going with Noodles full time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if I'm JT
Oh,
and
my.
I haven't won in years, which I haven't.
So you tell the guy that hurt his back you're
Yes.
out for good.
That's
Yeah,
your problem,
You
man.
give him a severance and you say thank you, and then you realize that I'm your good luck charm.
Absolutely. Pair of Skechers and some cash, you're out. Noodles is
You're
in
a
because
snake.
Dude, it's not my back. It's not my back. I could have used you at Augusta. Where were you?
I guarantee you this guy was hammered, too. He was hammered, and he fell off the porch, and he blew his back out.
There's some backstory. And JT came out today and said, no, all good. He'll be back. I love the guy. I'm not sure, man. Because if he gets back and there's an issue and JT misses the cut and the other guy's sitting there waiting for him who he just won a tournament with, that's very, very concerning.
And didn't Tiger get rid of Fluff at some point?
Fluff was gone, man. Him and his stash.
His quote about Fluff was, he's just a pothead giving me wrong yardages.
That was
a
quote.
dirty.
He didn't say that. That's not an exact quote.
You don't think I know this? Like, I have a memory. I know that he said he's a pothead giving me wrong
That might
numbers.
be the people that you talk to information behind the scenes. That's not a direct quote that we could find anywhere on the interweb, is it?
I would think I would have stumbled across
that. Guy's a pothead, and he's not good for me. What was the quote?
Pothead giving me the wrong yardages.
That is one of your buddies from the Masters telling you that. Like, that is somebody's caddy. That's you giving privileged information right now.
That is the worst form of malpractice, though. If you're a caddy and you can't get the yardage down for a guy as meticulous as Tiger, no wonder Fluff.
Dude, you know how petty some of those firings are? Like,
oh, I know.
One time, Stevie Williams went and caddied for Adam Scott, and he thought it was cool. He said, I asked Tiger. He doesn't have a problem with it. Tiger fired him.
See you later. You're gone. Yeah, he had a problem with it. He's like,
you bastard. You think it's funny to go caddy for Adam Scott? You're fired. You're gone.
You're gone. I would love the truth serum. There's series that haven't even started. A bunch tonight, Tampa, Florida. But there's probably a GM or a coach that would like to fire someone after one game. Like there's one, whether it's it's obviously got to be Ottawa, Jersey, St. Louis, Dallas, I guess Minnesota last night. Like one of the teams that have lost, because they always exude confidence and belief and this kind of philosophical. Well, it's a long marathon and we think for the future. I'm not buying it when you're in the trench of the playoffs. Like if fans are emotional, GMs are emotional, and presidents are emotional, and owners are emotional.
Well, I'm pretty sure like simple terminologies, like when you get spanked in a game, you probably comes across somebody's mind. They're like, "We're in tough here."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? As opposed to saying we got no chance. Just the simple phrase of, "We're probably in tough." I'm sure Billy Guerin, who's not stupid, watched that game and how big and strong Vegas is, and said, "We're in tough here." Like. We're in tough.
Rightfully so. But I think that's where the emotions of that night, you got to sleep on it and wake up the next day and try and reset. Because as we all know, 5 seconds after a game, sometimes when you're on the losing end and you feel like you've been slighted by something or you didn't like this, like then you're thinking, you're not thinking rationally. Like I like Travis Green's comments about his goalie. Like I think that was Ken Campbell.
Who asked that
Who was
question?
needling at him last night?
Ken Campbell.
The elephant in the room is your goalie.
And he's like, I like my goalie. Like, Allmark didn't play well. Like, all he had to say is he didn't play well or didn't have his aim.
Listen, the Leafs generated, both things can be right. The Leafs generated incredible chances, but he didn't stop any of them.
Right.
Like he didn't give them any stops, and he's got to be better. But I'm curious what you would think that issue is for the Ottawa Senators. Like if there's one thing that they look at and they say this has to change, do you think it's more Allmark has to return to form? They have to keep their composure? Because I will say again, being there and watching it, Tkachuk and Giroux in particular did not stop talking to the refs. They never stopped. And I was a bit surprised Green didn't go to one of them or both of them and say, "Stop it!"
Well, let me ask you.
It's getting out of control now. Non-stop. Those two were over.
You detailed the guys that were solid for the Maple Leafs in the first block. How many guys were lights out for the Sens last night?
I thought Batherson looked noticeable.
Played well. I thought Ridly Greig did what Ridly Greig does. He was right in the middle of everything. He scored a goal. He threw the cross-check on Tavares, which. I think that
let's just say there's a lot of elevation to happen for a bunch of guys if they want to be serious.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. But the Greig scenario is an interesting one to watch because he has been under the skin of the Leafs in the past. He was
That's the way he plays, man.
Well, he was the empty net goal, Morgan Riley guy. He was the guy that I said when I was in the building a month and a half ago. He chicken wing Matthews and Lawton fought him. And I thought in the moment watching the cross check, I thought, wow, that probably is 5 and he should go.
I thought so too.
But I got a chance to review it, and here's the difference. And a lot of people are comparing it to the Riley one, or Matthews on Darlene back in the day. Those were the aggressor. He was in a way protecting himself from the hit. So
it doesn't take away from the fact it was a cross check.
It was. But I'm trying to reason with why they just went with 2 minutes instead of 4, or instead of 5 in a game.
I'll tell you why. It was playoffs. If that was a regular season, he's getting 5, and he might get suspended for that.
Probably.
There's no other way to defend that.
He could. He could. And again, I think that's something where you got to have perspective if you're a Sens fan, where you're yelling and screaming about the refs. Greig got off the hook. That was big.
Agree.
He got off the hook.
That you're right. That could have gone either way, because we could sit here and go, that was 5 in a game, that would have changed again the dynamic, and you don't know if there's a suspension, or they review it and they go, okay, yeah, he's like you said, Hayes protected himself, gets his hands up, cross checks him in the side of the head. It's still a cross check. It's still it's in the side of the head or in the neck or wherever you want to claim it. But the point being is, he might have skated one. Penalties and discipline is a big part of the playoffs, and the Sens didn't have it last night. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things. So you mentioned it when we first started here. If one thing had to change, yes, you could just say the goalie needs to make saves. Absolutely, I would say the Sens have to defend a lot better, especially middle ice, because Oliver Ekman-Larsson should not be afforded. Now, Drake Batherson fell down on that play, but you still have to protect the middle of the ice. Allowing guys to walk right downtown, you can't do that because the chances are a lot smaller in the playoffs, or should be. They should shrink. The ice should shrink. So everything should be the outside. It should be loose puck battles in front and guys battling for open ice. Oh, you said it after in our roundtable. When's the last time you heard... And Brady Tkachuk said it. It was tough. They did a good job of boxing out. When's the last time you heard that from
Noodles? I almost cried on the panel. I almost cried
right?
with you guys, because he goes, they were tough in front of their net and they boxed out extremely well. I made the sign of the cross and I said, oh my God, never heard that one before.
That's the details of the playoffs, is going, this is contested ice. You better, you're going to come here, you got to pay a price. I didn't see that on the Ottawa side. So, yeah, I think it couples with discipline, but I also think it's defending better, in certain areas. You're going to give up chances. A puck bounces over a stick, a beautiful pass by Matthews to Marner on the breakaway. But you can't give freebies. And I felt like there were a couple, or the Leafs did a great job, but there were some freebies where it's like, okay, well, you deserve that.
And I thought, the way the Leafs boxed out was pretty significant. They also did something. They took a page out of what Florida has done for years, and they, when in doubt, flipped that puck out 25 times last night. It felt like it anyway. I don't have the exact metric. But that is also a scenario where you live to see another day. When in doubt, maybe the pass isn't there always, or the alleyway out of the zone, or a perfect, entry, one way or the other, or what have you, is not available to you. And every once in a while, you just got to diffuse the situation. And I think that they're kind of one and the same. Like the idea of owning the front of the net and making sure that you push and box out and make it difficult to get inside there. But also just, when in doubt, just get it out, man. And that's an old school play, and I know it doesn't jive with the puck possession era and all that kind of stuff. But that's what Florida did, for years, is they took advantage of their high-end skill. They had a great goalie, and when in doubt, they said, you're going to pay a price to get in here, or you're going to have to go get it and regroup and try to get through us again.
Tired overthinking pass attempts in your own zone when you're dead tired lead to problems. Mm-hmm. Something out, icing, who cares? Yeah. It's amazing how they don't care about icing the last minute of a game to try to score a goal, but ice it when you're in trouble too.
They didn't ice it a lot last night, though. Even.
No,
that's the thing.
I think that's a skill to get it out and allow yourself to change and not icing and leave it just inside their blue. That's a skill.
They did it really, really well.
Relieving pressure. Night. That's all it is. It's like, hey, we'll relieve pressure and we'll reset and defend a different way. That's basically what it is. It's just relieving pressure.
And it's a smart play, man. It's a playoff play. You guys have said it a million times. We just had someone on recently. Was it Rob's? I can't remember who it was, but just said, I think it was Pronger. Chris said, he's like, you're not going to win every shift. And Gio said that. Sometimes you just got to set up the next shift. Just get out. Live to see another day. That's the playoffs. You're not going to set up a beautiful play every time you're on the ice.
When we come back, I want you guys to think about it during the break. A mini Jerry on if a team that dumped the first game can come back and win the series around the league.
Mini Jerry coming up. Mark Mathot coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, a lot of action around the NHL, man. These teams that didn't make the playoffs, they want everyone to know they're still around.
Wow.
A lot of stuff going on. There's comments out of Vancouver, the captain in Detroit making some interesting comments. We've got some turnover in Seattle.
After meth, we're going to do a whole news and notes sections and go through all of it.
We got audio, video, the whole thing, and we'll carry that mini Jerry over. The chances of one of the teams that lost game one coming back to win the series. All right, little mini Jerry into the next hour. I have a feeling Mark Mathot is going to be pretty high on that.
I am too. He's probably not higher than I am. Only one of them's got to come back and win the series. I'm very high.
Okay, we'll get to that and more coming up in hour two. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.